We are live. What?
You're good.
I was wondering if we were live. And I heard Matt mumbling to himself. You know, when you get to talking to yourself, just don't start answering yourself. Anyway, we're glad to be here. I'm Andy Andrews. You have joined us on the Blue Plate Special. We are here in Orange Beach, Alabama. It is a hot day. It is a hot day. It's like Africa hot already. How hot is it? Is it like 92? 92. Everybody talks about the weather and nobody does anything about it. You know who said that? Calvin Coolidge. Well, I have been up here since early this morning, and I have been thinking about this show and wondering what we would share together today. Weather is currently 88, but it feels like 98. Thank you, Matthew. Currently 88, feels like 98. Wow. I mean, you know, I wish they hadn't come up with this heat index thing. It just makes me hotter. You know, I mean, just tell me it's 88. Okay, I know what 88 feels like. And then used to we would go, just feels hotter than 88. And that's enough. I don't need to know, yeah, it's 88, but in your body feelings, it's 152. I don't need to know that. Dana Kilpatrick, good afternoon. I shared. Well, I'm so glad that you did. Jen Andrews, hey, how are you? We've got a lot of tourists here. There's a lot of people that have like come in, and there are a lot of little kids wearing like Little League outfits. They're everywhere. I mean, they're just everywhere around here. And in fact, I think they were in the amphitheater last night having like sacrifices or something. But Dave Larder, greetings from the Valley of the Sun. Christy, my sister, hey, and thank you for lunch last week. That was great. Marcia Crosser Taylor says, in Pasco, Washington, it is hot. So it's supposed to be in the 90s today. And did you like the professional noticer? I appreciate that. This week's podcast was released early this morning, and it was with one of the guys who was hostage of the Iranians in the Iranian hostage crisis. And I'm sure you remember that. And I'm sure he remembers it. Good grief. That was scary. I mean, some of the stuff that he was talking about.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I mean, the mock executions and the Russian roulette they were forced to play and blindfolded. It's just crazy. So, anyway, teamed out. First time catching us live. Good. Vicky from Chicago. We're glad you're here. And Campbell. Now, your last name is spelled Thames. Is that the Alabama pronunciation, Thames, or is it the British pronunciation, Thames? Terry Lundy, hey, from Colorado. You're drowning there. Is it raining? Oh, my gosh. Shirley Greenfield Cole from Amarillo, Texas, which Amarillo, Texas is like everywhere you go in Texas, you're 200 miles from Amarillo. I don't know if you've seen those signs, but everywhere you are. Kim Petrucki, answering yourself is okay. So when you argue with yourself, that's a problem. Yeah, well, that's true. John Mason Smith. If you wonder what hell feels like, you could probably find it out. Church at the Floribama, late July, late service, or Phoenix, Arizona in August, you know, when they go. It's 118 degrees, but it's a dry heat. Yeah, so is my oven. Two guys named Tim. Rich Campbell Timms. Says it's pronounced like two guys named Tim. Okay. Heather Twos is hot. In Edmonton, Alberta, it's a hot 30 today. Whew. That's amazing. It's 30 degrees for you in June. That's global warming, I'm sure. Is anybody, am I the only one that, I don't want to bring up anything that's going to make anybody mad, or I don't want to bring up anything that's going to get people worked up. Because I don't want the emails. But has anybody noticed that at first it was global warming, and then when it said it was global warming, we had like some of the coldest winters, like last winter here. Like our citrus trees have been like frozen. Everybody's citrus trees are dead, and so they call it global warming, and then it gets like colder than ever, and they say, "Oh, well, climate change." Has anybody noticed that the climate always changes? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm not scientific enough to know that sometimes it's colder and sometimes it's warmer, and that's kind of normal. Maybe it's just me. Terry Lundy says, yes, it's raining. You got 4.77 inches yesterday. Now let me ask you this, Terry. What was it last week? Not raining? Climate change. Not raining to raining. Could it be that we have solved this whole issue right here? Because of the Blue Plate Special, people all over the world are going to stop arguing about it? It could be. We have saved billions of dollars here today, ladies and gentlemen. Whew. Today, since we have finalized that argument, we're going to go another direction on final. And we want you to join in with your own, and just kind of go into your future. The future of your last day, the future of your last hour, the future of your last minute. And tell us what your last words are going to be, because we have gotten together what we think are the 15 best last words from people. Now, this obviously is a very arbitrary list, but these are what we think are some of the best last words. And then as we're doing this, tell us what your last words are going to be. And maybe by the time I get through with this, I'll be able to think of what mine would be. Do you like the shirt? The shirt is from Sand Dollar Lifestyle, up here, the cornerstone of the wharf. And if you visit us, even if you're wearing a Little League outfit, you need to go in the wharf. Get you a couple of shirts. Come up and visit us. We're upstairs, and people, I can't tell you how many times people go, yeah, I saw your name up there. Really? You caught that in 4-foot high letters? Did that like click with you? And they say, yeah, we didn't come up. We just thought it was your office. I mean, if I had an office, which I do, I don't have anything on it but keep out, because I just want to be, I want to be quiet in my office. But here, we want you to come in. So if you come down here, and you can walk the escalator statues on either end here, come upstairs. Come on. Okay, so here are our top 15. No particular order, but our top 15 famous last words. And we would like you to go ahead and come up with yours while we're talking about this. There's a French grammarian, Dominique Bours, and his last words were, "I am about to die or I am going to die. Either expression is used." You're not laughing. Come on now. Put a smile on your face. That's pretty funny. I know he died, but he was trying to be funny when he died. Emily Dickinson, who has just always kind of bored me. Emily Dickinson, her last words were, "I must go in. The fog is rising." You know, you wonder when you hear these last words, because some of them, Matt, some of the last words, it seems like these people had kind of planned it.
I think that's planned. Yeah, that one right there.
You know, and then some of them sound like a crazy person. And I don't know if that one's planned or if she was crazy. I must go in. The fog is rising. I don't. In where?
Kind of sounds like a good opening line to a book or something.
I mean, she didn't say, "I must go away. The fog is rising." Or "I must give in." She said, "I must go in." And does fog rise or fall? Does anyone know? It falls, doesn't it? That's what I thought. Because have you ever been driving on the interstate and you're like driving under the fog? So, Emily Dickinson, crazy or not, her last words were incorrect. So there you go to the Jeopardy afterlife with a bad answer. Harriet Tubman. I thought this one was great. Harriet Tubman, her last words were, "Swing low, sweet chariot." Hey, that's pretty cool. Now, she didn't make it up. And I think it would have been maybe a little more impressive if she had done the whole song. "Coming for to carry me up." Like that, you know. Gina Kilpatrick says, "My last words will be, get out of the way, dear." Oh, Lord. You know, I want to die in my sleep. I want to die in my sleep like my granddaddy did. Not screaming and yelling like the other people in the car. Let's see. Campbell Tim says, oh, this is great. And how old is he? He's like 80-something, I think. So Campbell Tim said his last words are going to be, "The money is buried in..." That's a great one. Jen Andrews is going to say, "I've gone to Carolina in my mind." Well, you know, tomorrow night, James Taylor is here. I'm going to tell him you said that. I'll tell him. If I see him. Which I probably won't. Because I don't know him. And I'm not going to the show. But if I see him, I'll tell him you said that. Okay. This is a freaky one. The R&B singer, Johnny Ace. This was in 1954. He was playing with a pistol during a break in his concert. And his last words were, "No, that gun's broke. It won't shoot. Give it here. I'll show you." Ooh, yow. I guess he never knew what a big mistake that was. Okay. Leslie Ann Tarabella, who's one of our contributors, Wisdom Harbor, an author. Leslie Ann says, when someone dies peacefully in their sleep, how do you know they weren't screaming just before? Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. Do you know what sleep paralysis is? Anybody? Sonia, you know what sleep paralysis is? I have that. I mean, sometimes when I'm really, really tired, and it is freaky. It'll scare you to death. And that's because your mind is awake, but your body is asleep. And I mean, even when I would get that when I was a little kid, I would be going, am I awake? Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I'm awake. Okay, get up. Get up. Get up. And you know, it's like you leap out of that. You're like, yeah. And when Polly and I first got married, I would have this, and I would be like laying next to her in the dark, and I'd be screaming, "Polly, wake me up," and kind of come out of it like that and freak her out and me out too. But if you don't, if you come out of that and you don't get up, like right then, get up, shake your head, move around, I mean, you will fall right back into it. And I was on an airplane one time, and I fell asleep like this. And I was, my body fell asleep, but I was awake. And I was like, like screaming at myself to wake up, to get up, to move. And I went right back into it. I mean, it was real scary. So I don't do that so much anymore, but Adam does. I guess you're a lot tireder when you're 20 than you are when you're 94, like I am. But it used to happen when have you ever done that, Matt?
Yeah, I get it from time to time. It usually only happens to me if I'm napping, not actually going to bed for the night.
Really? Mm. And it happens right when you're going to sleep. I mean, not in the middle of the night. It's like right when you're going to sleep. Jen Andrews says, my grandmother kept telling us she loved us. We think. All we heard was la, la, la. Okay, well, you just keep thinking that's what she said. Okay? I mean, personally, I'll keep thinking what she was saying was la, 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 la. But you keep thinking she was saying, I love you, Jen. Okay, Thomas Edison. He said, it is very beautiful over there. This is kind of a sad one. Bob Marley said, money can't buy life. And then he died. I've got to tell you one that I took off the list. I've just got to tell you this. Because this one just really freaks me out. I mean, if you believe in God, like I do, and you know who Joan Crawford is? Right? Joan Crawford was that actress that her kids wrote a book about her called Mommy Dearest. I mean, she like beat the kids with coat hangers, and she was just insane and mean. And anyway, her last words, and this has been recorded, I've read this several times, but when she lay dying, a nurse was praying for her. And she saw the nurse praying for her and said, "Don't you dare ask God to do anything for me." And then she died. That just seems like a creepy way to go out to me. Whew. Also, it makes you kind of think if God was, about to do a miracle, she goes, he's about to put his hand on her, she said, "Don't you dare say," you go, oh, okay, no worries. Edie Ward said, "I heard someone say the deathbed is a holy place." I believe it can be. I don't believe it was for Joan Crawford.
You know what that makes me think of?
What?
I'm sure you remember this when you and Gloria Gaither were having a conversation, and she was talking about, in her age now, just getting older, she's, seen a lot of births, and she's been there for a lot of people that have died. And I remember she described it kind of, she said it's almost like a flap on a door when life is coming in and out of this world. And that she, I don't know, I just know she was talking about death and how it's almost like sometimes when people go, there's like this these little bits of light that kind of come through the flap of the door. I don't know. It was interesting what she was saying. It was very deep. But
Yeah. I agree, though. I think that the deathbed can be a holy place. Oscar Wilde. Ever wondered about Oscar Wilde, what his life was really like? I mean, was Oscar Wilde? Was Thornton Wilder? I don't know. But Oscar Wilde died at the Left Bank Hotel. And before his death, he remained mostly positive, except he had been griping for several days about the wallpaper on the walls in this room that he was in. And his last words were, "Either that wallpaper goes or I do." Drummer Buddy Rich, who was also not known to be a nice person. Drummer Buddy Rich died in surgery in 1987, and as he was being prepped for the operation, a nurse asked him, "Is there anything you're allergic to?" And he said, "Yeah, country music." Okay. You know what my answer is when they ask me, what am I allergic to?
what is it?
Kryptonite. I mean, I am allergic to a medicine called Dilaudid, and it gives me like really intense headaches. But so, being in the hospital with my neck and all, a couple of years ago, it's just so many times, you get, and they say, "Are you allergic to anything? Are you allergic?" You hear that all the time. So I started saying, yes, Dilaudid and Kryptonite. And if they got it, they would laugh. But there were several times, including one time at Baptist Hospital in Pensacola, that one younger lady, too young to probably know what was going on, she said, "Are you allergic to anything?" And I said, "Yes, Dilaudid and Kryptonite." And she said, "Dilaudid, and what was the other one?" And she's typing. I said, "Kryptonite." She goes, "Spell that for me." I said, Kryptonite. said, I can't find that. I'm just going to write it in. Spell it again. So I spelled it again. She wrote it in. And to this day, every time I go to the doctor, just a minute ago, I say, you're allergic to kryptonite. I said, yes. Beethoven. Now, this is one of those kind of crazy endings. Beethoven said, friends applaud. The comedy is finished. And then he died. Now, this is one that this is going to take some discussion. Leonardo da Vinci. Now, you got in your mind who he is and what he did, right? His last words were, I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have. I mean, think about the finger paintings you've done. This guy did the Mona Lisa. He didn't think that was good enough. Unreal. Benjamin Franklin said, a dying man can do nothing easy. Humphrey Bogart. This is interesting. And you know, you think of all the things that are going through somebody's life when they're dying. You think of all the things that are going through somebody's mind when they're dying. And you would think it would probably be the most important things to them. And Humphrey Bogart said, I should have never switched from scotch to martinis. It's like, oh, wow. Oh, your life was wasted. My gosh. Okay, playwright Wilson Meisner. A priest came in the room and said, I'm sure you want to talk with me. And he replied, why should I talk with you? I've just been talking to your boss. Okay. This is, I think, the second to the last one. Banker Richard Mellon. You know, these brothers, and there's, you know, Carnegie Mellon. I mean, these are rich guys. And so Richard Mellon and his brother Andrew played a game of tag from the time they were little kids until they were in their 70s. And on his deathbed, Richard looked at his brother and said, come here. And he came over and he went, last tag, you're it. And he died. Okay, here is the last one. And you know, nobody likes a murderer. But a murderer with a sense of humor. No, nobody likes a murderer. But this guy, James Rogers, was a murderer, and before a firing squad in Utah, he asked if he had a last request. Yes, he replied, a bulletproof vest. And that last request was not granted. Okay, so anybody else got their last words? I'm not sure what I want my last words to be. I think I know what I want on my tombstone. Oh, Sonia, tell me what her last words are. What do we got? What?
Come swiftly, Lord.
Come swiftly, Lord. That's good. That's good. You know, my granddaddy really did die in his sleep. He was 101 when he died. And people came to me at the funeral and said, "Oh, we're so sorry." And I'm like, really? He played golf until he was 85. Then he watched every Braves game, 162 games a year. He never had a senile moment in his life, was never sick, and died in his sleep at 101. And you're sorry? I would go for that. I mean, what a life. What else we got, Sonia? Carolyn Horton Robinson says that her family tale is that her great-grandfather was trying to shoot himself in the head with a shotgun and was pulling the trigger with his big toe. The gun kicked, he was shot on the side of the head, and it broke his toe. He lived a few days and complained constantly about the pain in his toe. Oh my gosh. Sheesh.
The other one she came in here and said, someone said, was, "I'm a hobo homeward bound."
A hobo homeward bound. That's good. That is really good. I don't know I don't know. I've always thought that I wanted to put on my tombstone, "I told you I was sick." But, I don't know. I just don't know. I've thought about this ever since I started researching that. Maybe I love you. If there's anybody there with me. If anybody's going to be with me when I croak. I hope it'd be somebody. There was a lady I didn't know. No, it was a man. A lady was telling the story. And I read about this. She didn't know who the man was, but it was in a hospice ward where there were a bunch of people, and this lady was some kind of nurse, and a man called her over and whispered in her ear, "I just wanted to tell somebody goodbye." That's just really sad. Somebody by themselves. But you know what? There are a lot of people that feel by themselves. We certainly don't have to allow anybody to get there. We can. I think a lot of times people talk to me about being a noticer, and the book The Noticer, and about Jones, and I think back to what my daddy told me one time years ago, and he would ask me occasionally about school. And he told me, he said, "Don't forget the kids in the corner." And when I was little, I thought he meant the bad kids, the ones that had to stand in the corner. But that wasn't what he was talking about. What he was talking about, I asked him, and he said, "What do you mean, the kids in the corner?" And he said, there are, he said, in every group, in every crowd, on every street, in every restaurant, there's somebody that's alone. And he said, they're on the outside of the group. They're kind of shoved to the corner. And he said, those are people you want to say hi to. Those are people you want to strike up a conversation with. Don't forget the kids in the corner. And occasionally my dad would ask me, he said, "Did you find anybody in the corner today?" So that one about calling the nurse over and asking, saying, "I just wanted to tell somebody goodbye." I mean, this is a guy who obviously felt like he was in a corner his whole life. So as we leave today and move toward seeing each other again Thursday, I'll say goodbye by saying, don't forget the people in the corner. Bye-bye.